you have to be right with you. Once you get that right, then you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. I think
This is Gums and Gossip. She's the dental educator behind the mask and the hygienist with a lot of heart, ready to share her advice, her stories, and her special guests from the other side of the dental chair. And now, here's your host, Hope Loyd.
Welcome, everybody, to Gums and Gossip podcast. My name is Hope. I am your Gum Goddess podcaster, and I have a special treat today. I have this guest that is from Australia. Her name is Stefania Puleo, right? So Puleo. And so I am super excited. She's after 20 years of listening to women's juicy man gossip as a hairstylist and a personal trainer. She has such unique insights, and she is helping high-achieving men find their ideal partners to enjoy healthy, fulfilling, and successful relationships. She's just worked extensively with thousands of women in her role as the hairstylist. She's listened to so much gossip, and I know I share with my hairstylist lots of gossip. And she was a salon owner. She's got a wealth of information, English teacher, Latin dancing. She's a hypnotherapist. We're going to reach into all these wonderful insights of how she helps and supports high-achieving men find partners. So welcome to the show.
Hi, Hope. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So it's funny because with relationships, from my own relationships, and you're coming in from Australia, tell my audience just a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and give me a little bit of insight.
Okay. Well, as you know, I'm from Australia and I'm from Melbourne, one of the major cities here in Australia, down south in Victoria. And this all started from my hairdressing years. Let's say that I was a hairdresser for 20 years or more. And the women would just share all the juicy gossip, basically. And you know what it's like when you're in a hairdressing salon, and you got so much time, and women bond, women connect, and the minute I guess hands are laid on you, you just kind of relax and you feel like you can trust that person. So I heard a lot of interesting stories, relationship romances, breakups, difficult relationships, you name it, I heard it all. And that was really intriguing. And what I found was from hairdressing, I then moved on to personal training as a personal trainer in a gym. And of course, in the salon, I was also styling men's hair. So it was a unisex salon. And the men weren't so kumbaya-ish, kumbaya, come out with
They didn't
all the...
share stories? They didn't give you any stories or anything?
No, they would mainly say things like, what do you think, Stefania? Like, if I did this, what do you think she would do? Or what do you think she's thinking? Or do you think she's got somebody else? Like, I've got that feeling. And it's like, I would get all these questions, but they wouldn't come out with saying they had a problem. They wanted to know how a woman would really actually think. So, of course, when I went to personal training, the same pattern. It was like the same thing. And I kind of thought, you know what, this is something I want to explore. So I went on and did coaching, and predominantly coached women to start off with, believe it or not, because I felt like, my sisters needed all the help. But as the more I got into it, the more I realized that, yes, women, need their help, but they're really like a lot more into, stepping into their power, finding their voice. I felt that the men were being left behind and there was a gap. I felt the gap was just getting bigger and bigger. And as you know, with all these, self-development, the awakening, women are a lot more receptive to opening up, learning, growing, developing. Whereas I found that the men were a little bit stagnant and not wanting to open up, just fear of, showing vulnerability, showing, or fearing that it's weak to actually seek help or seek self development. So, yeah. So when I found that there was this gap, I really thought, I really would love to. I bring insights to men, awareness as to how women are really thinking, but not from a point of view of emasculating them, more to equip them with the tools, empower them, and really encourage them to step into their masculine energy more so, because as you know, with the women stepping into their power,
Mm.
unfortunately they're stepping into too much alpha energy. And I think what's happening in the world is there's too much alpha in the world between men and women. And this doesn't mean, if you are not alpha, you're submissive to a man. I try and explain this to women because what really needs to happen is women need to step more into their feminine energy,
I
and men have to
agree.
step into more of their masculine energy. And how do we do that? So that's why I'm here to
Here
help
you are.
both parties to really step into that energy, but also empower them and equip them. And with the high achieving men, I think
Hmm.
there is a gap even more so because these men have been so successful in their work, their careers. They are go getters. They don't stop at anything.
Hmm.
However, there's a pattern where their relationships aren't as successful as what they would like them to be. Yeah, and I'm saying
I
that.
think they pick, and not to interrupt you, but I think they can choose the wrong type, just as women can too. You
Mhm.
choose the wrong type of relationship, and you think you know what you want, right?
Yeah.
But it's a learning process. It's really timing. There's a lot that goes into all that. What are like the key characteristics of high achieving men? What do they look for in an ideal partner?
Well, they actually do look for a strong, powerful woman. Okay, they actually are attracted to strong women. They're actually not attracted to, needy women, women that are just have that attachment style personality. They like women that are a little bit more independent, that possibly have their own careers, they've got it together. And also, I guess they're still looking for someone that can create a home for them, right? So they still
Right.
want that. It's not like they just want these go getters and then they're left with, well, where's the home, love, and environment and stability that the norm is, I guess, what our parents sort of created. And that's what they're after. And there are a lot of women out there that have these qualities. Okay. It's not
Hmm.
like they can't find them. However, what I'm seeing a real trend that these women, again, are not in their female energy. And therefore, this is creating a lot of, you know, confrontation, clashing, and are not understanding each other. So what happens then, I feel, is it's so easy to swipe right, isn't it? Swipe left.
Absolutely,
And,
right. I
and
mean, it's a world of just in the AI world and everything is just there's so many options and
correct.
I believe you meet people for reasons. I'm one of these that, you connect with somebody and then when you do, I've been online dating. When you are online and you're swiping or whatever, you see this connection, there's this glimpse of hope and you're like, "Oh my goodness, this could be the person or whatever." I guess it goes both ways on both sides. But and then they either ghost you or they do, I mean, they have their own, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes if they're really legitimately looking or and then from a man's standpoint,
Mhm.
they could be high achieving, they're like thinking you're just wanting their wallet, and so it becomes this, like you said, it's a different energy that people take on. right?
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. And you just nailed it with one area where um, a lot of men do feel, the high achieving man that has achieved a lot and worked a lot and probably been through, you know, a divorce, maybe two, and he has
A
lost
few. I know a lot of
a
high achieving
few.
men that have been
Right,
through multiple women, and
right.
they end up giving their money, and that's all they think of is who's going to be next is going to take my millions or something, or
Exactly.
if they end up having kids with another person, are they going to end up needing to support them as well? So there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Exactly, exactly. So, with my work, I help men actually navigate through this landscape of dating in a way that makes them um, in power, more
Mm-hmm.
discerning, really recognizing the flags and also learning to trust themselves. Because a lot of the times people say, oh, can I trust that person? Can I trust her? Can I trust him? Right? It's not about trusting the other person, it's about trusting yourself. And I think a lot of
Absolutely.
people really don't know how to tap into the trust, the self trust, being able to really recognize not only with the logical mind, but also coming in alignment with your heart and not wearing your heart on your sleeve, as they say,
Mm-hmm.
right? But also, coming into balance. Some people are either all heart and no logic, or all logic and no heart. So
Mm.
there's this beautiful balance that needs to come together. Now, again, that's not woo woo and it's not, too much female energy because, to the men and women out there, I know women know this, but majority of women, however, men need to know that they too um, are made up of male energy and female energy. Like there's this, delicate energy of dance in our energy field that we need to be aware of and we need to be able to tap into it. Doesn't make you wussy or gay or feminine or anything like that. It actually makes you stronger. And when you know these principles and these, energy, tapping into these energy fields, oh, the world is your limit. They say the sky's your limit.
The sky is the limit. Absolutely. And I do. I think it's important to have that connection and everything. As far as communication goes, to communicating their values in the early stages of dating and everything, it's hard. I'll be honest. It's hard for me to, what do you say? What do you do? You don't want to, give everybody your whole life story in one, little swoop. And so, what are your strategies as far as like communication goes? Give me like on the first couple of dates, are there things that the men or the women are more in tune to in your expertise?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Hope, because you do get into that situation and say, well, do I, I don't want to tell them everything all on this one date, second date, and I don't want to like keep everything to myself and be too aloof.
Hmm.
So I think the answer to that, or the secret to that, is knowing what key questions to ask that aren't invasive, but yet you can still get some information, and it hones into also um, ticking off your boxes, because before you go off dating, I think it's very important to know your values, your what you desire, what you don't desire, what are your deal breakers. So, preparing for dating is really essential. Like I can't really begin to stress enough how important that is. And you'd be surprised how many people do date and don't know what they're looking for. And I
Well,
always,
they jump in, they jump out. It's like they go
yes,
from one relationship to the next, and they don't actually know they don't know about themselves.
right, right. And I use this analogy, which I love, of a fisherman. When a fisherman goes fishing, right, he knows what he's fishing for, right? He knows, he gets all his kit together and he has his bait. So if he's fishing for, I don't know, marlin, he has specific bait for marlin. If he's fishing for squid, he has, calamari, he has special tools and bait for calamari. So you wouldn't go fishing for something and then drawing something that you don't want if you don't have the bait. Does that make sense?
It
So,
does. I love the analogies. I mean, analogies, work really well, the visualizations.
right.
And I think for the audience, I mean, you have to have your right. And it's been a huge learning curve for me. I thought I knew what I wanted. I thought there was different things, but then you see the red flags, right?
Mhm.
And what are some of, like, in your experience, like the mistakes? What are the red flags? What are some of the
Mm.
things that you've experienced?
Okay, red flags. I mean, we could talk about this
I know, there's
for
a
hours.
lot.
Now, the red flags are so important to know and to know your red flags. Now, what are red flags? Now, everyone has different red flags
Mhm.
because red flags really are your triggers. What triggers you? Now, what triggers you might be different to what triggers me because of your past experiences and what you've gone through. So, therefore, understanding what triggers you is so important. And once you know what triggers you, you don't like put the walls up and say, oh, this person is just, I don't know, just after my money, or is just not interested, not invested because he or she is not putting in the time, or whatever it is that your expectations are. So the red flags need to be healed.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, this is going a little bit deeper,
Yeah.
and this is about healing the triggers. Now,
Mhm.
unless you attend to those triggers, you're always going to have red flags, and they're going to trigger you and you're going to react. Whereas if you work out what your triggers are and you heal them, or you work on them, or you unpack them, it doesn't mean you're not going to see the red flags everywhere. It just means they're not going to trigger you, and you are going to know how to navigate through that obstacle course rather than getting caught up into it all, being sucked into someone else's orbit, I say,
Yeah.
because it's triggering you, and before you know it you think, "Oh my god, what just happened there?" And you feel bamboozled, you feel angry, you feel rejected, you feel all these emotions that put you 10 feet back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make
It
sense?
does. No, it does make sense. I mean, I know my red flags. I mean, just from I did 10 dates that were first dates only, and I learned a lot about myself just through these people. And I mean, a big red flag was obviously criminal history. I didn't realize, that I'm not the love after lockup kind of girl. you so it's
Oh,
just
that's
kind of
funny.
like, yeah. So I mean, there's a couple of different things, and I would want somebody that's open and honest. But it's funny because we all have our attraction to people,
Mhm.
and most of my friends who I've seen, they end up getting married and all that, is they always tell me it's not somebody that I normally would have picked. And they say, Hope, you need to go beyond who you would normally pick and who you would. And, I look at my patients, it's funny, as a hairstylist and, doing everything that you also did with training and all that. I have a lot of therapy and a lot of conversations in my dental chair, and everybody I know, they're all married and everything, but they're all incredible people. And I'm like, where are these people in the online presence, right? And who are these people? And are these people really even being real? There's a lot of people that have fake profiles, they're fake, people. And
Mhm.
so I think it's just a matter of connecting with the right people and like you said, knowing what you want and then just not settling. And that's been my thing. Everyone's like, why not? And I said, I know my value now. I know my worth. But then to the extent of I'm willing to find my person too, that he's out there.
Exactly. And what happens, I think, Hope, too, we may know what we want, and we say, okay, I know my values and I know my deal
Hmm.
breakers. However, what needs to happen, I think, too, is we need to prepare the mind,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes what we want and what we energetically still feel and what we have remnants of, particularly past
Mm-hmm.
relationships, because let's face it,
Absolutely.
it depends what age you are. I guess the more mature you are, the more experiences you've had, the more trauma you've had, but not necessarily even age, because I've even worked with young men, believe it or not, as young as like 20, 23, where
Mm-hmm.
they think, well, what trauma would they have experienced, at 23? Maybe a
Yeah.
teenage, romance. And yes, possibly that. Even goes further than that. Our relationships with our parents, our
Mm-hmm.
childhood traumas, all has an impact on how we behave as adults in our own relationships as we, you know, journey through life, whether it's with
Absolutely.
ourselves, with others, with our intimate relationships, with our work relation. It's all we're having relationships all the time, but the most important relationship is with ourselves. So yeah, there's this preparation that needs to happen. This I guess it's not that black and white,
Mm-hmm.
because as I said, trauma does have an impact on how we behave and how we see the world and how we feel we're being seen by the world as well.
Absolutely. I think one of my downfalls, honestly, was because I didn't know my worth. I didn't know I had any value. There was traumas from before, the abuse of relationships, things like that, because that's what I had been told. Hey, you're not worthy, that kind of thing. But I outgrew all that, and now here I am. And it's just interesting to hear that men have issues too. I was just thinking, oh, it's just women, and then I start hearing men's stories, and so I thought it was so appropriate, like for you, to be sharing things that, the men have come to you about, their complaints or you know, their things that are happening with them that they're like, hey, listen, I don't feel like maybe they're not feeling worthy. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman.
Yeah.
In this case, we've all had an upbringing. We've all had, we've all been children. We've all been teenagers. We've all experienced some kind of parental care, whether it's, your own parents, biological parents, or guardians. So
Yeah.
it all does have an impact. And yes, men, and this stigma, I guess, about men appearing strong and confident and they've got it all together. I think what happens is it just builds up, builds up, builds up till there's a collapse, because
Yeah.
they too can only deal with so much stress, so much, drama in their life. And if they're attracting the wrong, you know, unavailable women, toxic women. Constantly, they're in this vicious cycle of attracting all the wrong women. Of course, they're going to say, well, there's no good women out there, and they're all the same, and they're all, crazy, and they're all gold diggers, and they're all, because this is what they're attracting. But
Right.
what has to happen is that pattern needs to be broken. That behavioral pattern that is happening unconsciously, it's a paradigm that
Mhm.
people are running off. It's a program we're running off, and it needs to be changed. If one wants to see a different result, then change needs to happen.
I think it's
Action.
self-awareness. It's definitely, making sure that, that yourself, that you're in tune with your own self, and that you aren't just that you do have to have a period, I think, of just nothingness where you're healing your own self from whatever so that you can move forward and attract someone healthy that's not going to be in that toxic state that is trying to deal with their own. I know there's a balance there. Nobody's perfect, obviously. We all have our own traumas and our own things that we've had to deal with. But as far as a genuine connection, you want it to be ultimately a healthy long-term relationship. I mean, that's a lot of people are craving, whether you're from here or Australia or wherever, whatever
Anyway,
country you're from, right?
absolutely. And I think I always say take your time. If you have come out of a relationship, I think it's essential to take that time to just not date straight away, get to know yourself again, fall in love with yourself again. And I know
Yeah.
women use this term of, I'm falling in love with myself. Well, men can use that too. There's nothing wrong with that. Go to the gym, hang out with your buddies, play golf, whatever it is that, you've stopped doing because of that past relationship. You need to rekindle all that within yourself first. And once you're fully satisfied and you're feeling got it all, then go out and start mingling because you're going to be entering those relationships or those connections, let's say just connections, on
Yeah.
a high vibe. Your energy is you're vibrating at a higher frequency. So of course you're going to be more attractive. Women love men that are funny and relaxed and not stressed and not talking about all their problems. And another thing I really want to mention, when you just going back to when
Yeah.
your first dates and what do you talk about? Communication. I
Yeah.
always say don't talk about your past ex.
Yeah.
Don't talk about what went wrong and how she failed you and how she took you of $500,000. And there's no need to do that because you're coming in, you're connecting with that new person already on a negative note, and it's not necessary. You've got far more
Mm.
interesting conversations, and connections you need to do with this person than talk about your past.
Right.
It's
Right.
wrong. I always
What
say,
about,
don't do it.
okay, we're going to get a little bit juicy with some gossip. What about sex as far as like with, because I know there's different expectations and there's like the third date rule or there's like different things that people happen. What is your advice?
Okay, let me give you my take on sex and the rules, the third day, second day. Oh, if you do it on the first date. Really?
Yeah.
I personally think it's up to the individual and the individuals together. If you have something around like, oh, if I do it on the first date, as a woman particularly, I'm coming across too cheap. Well, again, that is a program you're running off. That is a paradigm. So I don't think there's any set rules. I just think it's two mature people coming together, connecting, and if it feels right and the energy's flowing on the first, but this is like really talking that it's really flowing. And what is it you want from that first date, first sex experience, sexual experience on your
Yeah.
first date? Is it just sex or is it connection? There's a lot. There's a lot.
That
And
goes with it.
yeah, there's a lot. And of course, men are more visual, they're more spontaneous, they can do it on the first, most, not all. Okay, there are some men that say, I've got to be energetically connected, I've got to feel that woman, there's got to be some kind of connection. And that's fair enough. So everybody has their own, I guess, rule. I just think you have to be right with that rule. That whatever like boundary or whatever expectation you have on yourself, that is what has to be heart centered and feel right with you. If you're
And
doing
if that's
something,
yeah, and if that's a deal breaker, for people, then it wasn't worth the, relationship anyways. If that's going to be the deal breaker, I've had that experience before too, where it was like, okay, my goodness, it was a second date, Hope, and you're like, well, sorry, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel the connection yet. And then it was
exactly,
like gone. It was like, how are you not feeling it the second connection? I felt it with you, but you didn't feel it back. And you're like, I don't know. I just didn't feel it. And
exactly.
yeah, and there's lust and there's love. And, I mean, it's been kind of, it is a balance and it's tricky with people. But if you're with the right person that's actually interested in you, I feel like, that it makes a good connection in no matter what time, right?
Exactly. And I think also another thing that comes into play is cultural expectations. Now, the world now, it's so small, I say, because, we can connect with, international people so easily, where
Yeah.
even in our own countries, there's a lot of cultures, people living from other countries. So they're bringing their own cultures into our world, right? Into our, like in Australia, particularly. I know with America it is too. And so it is throughout the world. Now, some people, it's just normal, to just hop into bed first time. you know, um,
Yeah.
if we're feeling it, let's do it. Now, that may not be the case with someone that, I don't know, comes from England or from the States or from Australia. Do you know what I'm saying? But yet someone
Yeah.
that's like from South America, it's like, we just get together and it's all passion and love and all those wonderful feelings. Again, it's what you feel comfortable with. Now, if you're planning on dating someone from another culture, I
Hmm.
say get to know that culture a little bit more. Don't think because you're from America or from Australia or from England and you're dating someone, say, from India or from China, that their culture is just going to be like the same as yours. It doesn't work like that. So yeah, it's all part of exploring, unpacking, and just taking your time and savoring everything without, you know, thinking too far ahead. Don't future
Hmm.
pace with all the things you want to do.
I think it's so true, and I think that's been a lesson because it is fun being single. I'm not gonna say that. I mean, to take your time and be single on purpose, and to be able to, I mean, just get out and do the things that you want to go do, and whoever's with you is gonna be with you, and then whoever's not, then that's their thing too. But as long as yourself is happy, I think that's an important take on making sure that you're going to attract the right people, whether it's men, women, whatever, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to be right with you. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter what other people think of you. You have to be right with yourself. And once you get that right, and you don't need to meet anyone else's expectation or the social, you know, complexities of the world's expectations,
Right.
then you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. I think we can get too caught up with all this, particularly in this digital world that we're living in. You open up all these social medias and you think, "Ah, I don't have that body, I don't have that hair, I don't have this, I don't have that," and you can easily fall into a big slump.
Right. And I've read, and I know, that, it doesn't matter how much money anybody has. It doesn't matter. Everybody has their different expectations. I was reading an article and it was talking about, this well off man, and he fell in love with this girl that worked at McDonald's. I mean, that was like they just connected and all that. So I think this world, anything's possible. It's just hitting that connection and, making, if there's anything that's going to happen, the universe just makes it happen, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And age also. I think there's a big stigma about age of late. You know, Dating, oh, you can't date someone older or it just doesn't seem right. Well, I don't believe in that. I think, again, it's all about the connection. I've dated, men that have been younger than me. I've dated men that have been older than me. I think it's about that soul connection you have with that person. And there are, I speak about men, there are a lot of, younger men that are like old souls.
Mm-hmm.
They just, it feels like they've got it together at such a young age. And you think, oh my God, this is what I expect, someone a lot more mature to be speaking. And yet I think particularly the new millennials, that are coming
Yeah.
up in the world, they're definitely different. And I say it all the time, and I say they're just gifted. They just got so much talent and gift and connection that
I think, yeah, communication, I know, just to touch base on the communication part, I think is so important. And now with, everybody, texting and social media and everything that people have to be allowed with their phones, it's like instant gratification almost of communication. So if you're left on read, like where something says, that they've read your message or something like that, you kind of know things that, and then those are sometimes can be little deal breakers too, because it's like, oh, I haven't heard from that person in 3 days, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And how do you connect with that person? I always say this,
Hmm.
hey, hi. I say to men, don't text hi. Don't text hey. Or don't text what's up. What's up? What's up? When I say what's up?
Yes.
What's going on? I mean, that's kind of talk you talk with your buddies, right? With your male friends. Be different. You want to stand out. You really want to attract that person that, really is catching your eye. Then you need to be speaking that person's language. Get to know
Right.
her. If it is online dating, check out her profile, see what her likes are, start a communication, connection through talking about something she likes that she stated on her profile, and say, um, act interested, be curious. I always say to men, don't think about what you're going to say, just be curious, and everything will just unfold naturally. Because when you're curious, you're more playful, you're more fun, you're not so tense, you're not waiting for an answer or trying to work out in your head, if she says this, then I'm going to say that. And yeah, no, just let all that go and just be curious in a um,
Right.
fun, childlike in a way, without being childlike. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the way children are curious.
There's always that generic, it's funny, like sayings that people say. You say like hi and all that. Somebody, well, the generic, and I guess you said men are so visual, right? So it'll be like hi gorgeous, hi beautiful, something like that. And you're thinking, how many other people are they on the app sitting there saying, hey, good morning, beautiful, or something like that. And I'm like, say something original or ask a question or something like that. Kind of pick my brain a little bit. What do I like to do? What do I like? There's things that matter. And so I think that's important too. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. And we can't blame the men for being so visual. Okay, we need, as women,
No,
we
no,
need to accept
absolutely not. But I sit there and
that.
wonder, I'm like, okay, they have it on generalized, they're just sitting there saying
Yeah,
that. But yeah.
but you're right. Be unique, and if you are complimenting her on her beauty, maybe compliment her on that sweater she was wearing, or that top that looked amazing on
Mhm.
her. Yeah, just be a little bit more unique in the way that you say that message.
Personalized. I think it's
Person,
a more personalized message when you can, either guy or girl, say, "Hey, I loved your smile, your eyes just light up," or something, "Hey, when can we meet?" I think that's another thing is that you can have a pen pal relationship with somebody for so long, and you're like, "Okay, this guy's not even going to want to meet."
oh my God,
Right?
so that is something that I say to men all the time. Get off that texting and get on a call, because women love to hear your voice.
Mhm.
There's something about
Absolutely.
a man's voice, well, for me anyway, a majority of women, that we just we feel the energy. We feel more connected to that person,
Yeah.
right? And then, of course, if all goes well with the voice call, then take it onto a video call. There's nothing wrong with that. I
Yeah.
think it makes it more exciting. And don't worry about, my hair's not done or um, I had this
Right.
one guy once, right? And he was so eager to talk to me. And so we spoke, and then he wanted to see me. And I kid you not, because I do my own hair, right? And
Mhm.
I had color in my hair. I didn't just have my hair wet, or I had literally, and you
You
know how,
actually were doing your hair.
right? And you know how your hair looks when you have color. You look
Yes.
you know, looking out of space.
Oh.
And I actually said, look, I'm actually putting my color on. Do you really want to? Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's like, and I said, so I'm not at my best. And I said, you know what?
Mhm.
I'm just going to do
I
this.
don't care, right?
I don't
Why
care. And
not?
why not? And you know what? It was like the best thing I did, because for me, it just broke that initial, getting out of my comfort zone of, making sure that my hair's all done and my
Mhm.
lipstick's right and everything. And I say that to men, do the same. If you're a bit
Mhm.
sweaty because you've just come from the gym, hey, that looks hot too. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. Or
Mm-mm.
if you're catching up, and I know that you don't want to, catch up probably after a workout because you might feel like you're smelly, put some deodorant on or some
Spray
aftershave.
something, right?
Yeah, and that can still look quite attractive and sexy to a woman, that you're showing a bit of arms, and
Mhm.
you're in your gym gear. It shows her that you're looking after your body.
The
So yeah,
pheromones, right? It's the natural pheromones on both that, it's kind of funny. Let's go into
absolutely.
hygiene. I know we'll segue into hygiene because obviously dental hygiene is what I do. And,
Yes.
as far as the gums part of everything, right? And gums and gossip, um, tell me what you tell your men as far as how they can help with their hygiene, and do you go into all those details with them and smelling good and things like that?
Of course. Now, of course, I don't come in and shoot them down.
I know. But you encourage,
I
right?
encourage, yeah, and I say,
Yes.
there's nothing. I've also did a video on the importance of smelling good. I'm not sure if you've seen that on YouTube. I'll have to send
Yeah.
it to you. But I
Yeah.
always say, gentlemen, when you smell good and you look good and your teeth are clean and like your gums, and you look after yourself, that is
Hmm.
attractive, because I don't know about you. I mean, I think you'd understand,
It's
being a
true.
dental
A
hygienist.
hygienist.
A smile just communicates so much. It communicates so much. So
Absolutely.
when you're smiling and your teeth are looking good and they're clean,
Hmm.
and your breath is smelling good too, well, that is just a turn on. Like, it's sexually so appealing to women. So yeah, I do say, you know, get a haircut. Make sure you look after your hair. Make sure there's nothing wrong with having a facial, getting a manicure, a pedicure, um, because they're all things women look at.
Hmm.
Don't we? We look at men's hands, and if men's nails are way too long and they're looking a little dirty underneath the nail bed there, I don't know about you. It's just,
I'm looking at my own nails. I'm like, oof. Working
yeah,
with gloves all the time. I have to really pay attention to that.
right. And feet. I think men
Yeah.
look great in sandals, or, flip flops. I think you guys call them flip flops, right? We call them
Yes.
we call them thongs here, so I'm going to be
They're
careful to say a
thongs.
thong, because
Yeah,
thong is
thongs are
like.
not like that here.
So yeah, I say that it's
Uh,
very important, and smell good.
yeah.
Smell, find a nice aftershave or cologne that you like, and if you're not sure, always ask the lady behind the counter. Go to a female, because she will know best a female, a woman will tell you what
Mm.
smells good, what looks good on you. Invest in buying a few nice tops, shirts, jeans, or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a lot, something that you can match. And another thing I encourage my men to have done too is color coding. I'm not sure if you know the fashion color coding. We all
No.
have different skin tones, which
Okay.
means different colors suit some people and might not suit other people. Like,
Hmm.
I have more cool in my skin, you have more
Mm-hmm.
warmth in your skin. So,
Mm-hmm.
more the auburn colors would suit you as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to me. I would be more into the pinks and cooler blacks. And when you know your color coding as well, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to have a lot in your wardrobe because you actually got the right colors which you can mix and match and wear them in a way that it'll bring out your own skin tone.
Right. Right.
Yeah? Your
That's
hair color,
amazing.
your
Yeah.
skin tone. Yeah, I knew about that years, of course, through hairdressing with color. I mean, that was my thing.
Absolutely.
So I
Yeah.
encourage that. I make men aware of that as well. Very, very
Yeah.
important. And of course, I always say, if you look good, you feel good. And if you feel
Absolutely.
good, you look good. So they go both hand in hand in a way that is just magic.
So I'm going to start wrapping this up, but there was one thing I really wanted to touch base with you on was zucchinis. You loved to garden. I loved to garden too. And so it was so funny. I saw this little post about zucchini plants. She was out in her garden and she was talking about the female and the male parts with the zucchini plant. So I wanted you to kind of end this with, about your zucchini plants.
Okay, so what I was talking about there was zucchinis they flower before they actually develop into a zucchini. Now, you have a female flower, zucchini flower, and you have a male zucchini flower. Now, it's actually the female flower that has a different stem on it than the male one, and they're the ones that actually, grow the zucchini. Now, of course, you've got to know the difference, and this is where the bees come in handy because the bees pollinate these flowers
Mm-hmm.
to create the zucchini. And you can actually, there's a little hack that you can actually, you know, pollinate them yourself. So you get a little bit of the pollen, from the male zucchini because there's of course you have to check it out on YouTube
I
or
think, yeah,
yeah.
I think everybody needs to watch that. It was so cute, and everybody needs to know like where you're at and all that. She also she's a best-selling author of Master the Language of Attraction, and she's definitely helps equip men with confidence and navigates all the relationship issues. She's an expert. And she also does hypnotherapy, which is just amazing, to be able to allow yourself, I guess, to open up real briefly. And so you have your expertise with that, healing traumas, being able to have people so that they can continue their life. And she does speaking engagements and what women want. And she just has a wealth of information. So let everybody know where to find you.
Yes. So you can find me at on my website, thegentlemansquare.com, or I have all the social media. I think you're going to probably put up the links there.
Hmm.
And also for your audience, hope they can get my free guide, 5 keys on how to attract your ideal partner.
Yes, and absolutely. I love all her newsletters she sends out, and you can subscribe and follow her journey. And the last thing I know, your quote, it says, every man deserves a special woman that, especially on your bad days, reminds you that you are not hard to love. And I love that. I'll end it with that because finding your ideal partner should be fun. Just to recap, it should be something that you look forward to, that you're not, oh my goodness, not needy, not dependent. You should have your own self-worth and your own values, and to be able to get out there. And I just really appreciate you being on the show. We might have a follow-up on another episode because you're just such a delight to talk to. Thank you.
Thank you, Hope. Thank you. It's been fun. I've enjoyed
Yeah.
the segment, definitely. And I'd love to come back and talk more. Absolutely.
All righty. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Gums and Gossip and your host, Hope Loyd. If you liked what you heard, help us spread the word by leaving a review wherever you get your podcast. And tell a friend. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And we'll see you again next time.